Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this meeting of the Tunbridge and Moorland Borough Council Cabinet. Thank you all for joining us this evening. For the benefit of anyone who's watching on our YouTube channel, members of the Cabinet are present here in the chamber at Kings Hill, and these members will be voting on proposals. There are other members of the council who've dialed in via Microsoft Teams, and good evening to all of you. They can take part in any discussions, ask questions, but they can't vote. Please now draw everyone's attention to agenda item 1 that sets out the guidance on how meetings will be conducted. Before we start with the formal business, for the benefit of anyone watching on YouTube for the first time, I'll ask members to do a roll call just to introduce themselves, and then I'll ask officers to do the same thing. So for anyone who doesn't know me, my name's Matt Borton. I am chair of this committee and I'm leader of the council. I'll go through cabinet members in alphabetical order, starting with Robin Betts.
Yep, present. Robin Betts, Cabinet Member for Economy, Environment and Regeneration.
And Housing. Martin Coffin.
Yep, Martin Coffin, Cabinet Member for Finance, Waste and Technical Services.
Good evening, everyone. Des Kears, Cabinet Member for Community Services.
Thank you, Matt. Adam Memmett, Cabinet Member for Infrastructure and Tunbridge Regeneration.
Good evening. Mike Taylor, Cabinet Member for Planning.
I can't remember a cabinet meeting in which the cabinet successfully got their job titles correct. So hopefully officers will have better luck. After Adrian.
Thank you, Chair. I'm Adrian Stanfield, Director of Central Services.
Alison Paris, Principal Democratic Services Officer.
Dean.
Dean Radmore, Tunbridge Town Centre Programme Manager.
Sure.
Stuart Edwards, Head of Administrative and Property Services.
Sure.
Being Jill Fox, Corporate Policy and Community.
And online we've got Darren Lanes.
Good evening. Yeah, Darren Lanes, Head of Street Scene and Leisure.
Eleanor Hoyle.
Good evening, Eleanor Hoyle, Director of Planning, Housing and Environmental Health.
And Robert Stiles.
Good evening, Robert Stiles, Director of Street Scene, Leisure and Technical Services.
Perfecto. Thank you all. Members who I haven't introduced who aren't a member of Cabinet, if you can just introduce yourself when you speak, that would be great. Right, hopefully that microphone is working. Right, we'll move on to apologies for absence. That's agenda item 2, but everyone's here, so there are no apologies. Item 3, a declaration of interest. Does any member have any interest to declare? No. Agenda item 4 and the minutes of the meeting held on the 2nd of September. These are available at page 15. I won't go through each page by page, but can we sign those as a correct record? Agreed. Excellent. If I can just turn everyone's attention towards the supplementary paper that was published a few days ago, that is where we will find agenda item 5, which is the annual audit report 24-25. This was considered by the audit committee at its meeting last week. I think its meeting was. On page 3 of the supplementary, we've got 3 recommendations that we're asked to recommend to Cabinet in relation to the auditor's annual report and various comments from them. I won't go through them. Martin, as Cabinet Member for Finance, do you wish to add anything to the audit committee's discussions?
Nothing to add to the discussions.
In that case, can we agree to recommend to Cabinet the 4 recommendations of the audit? Agreed. Hopefully, we're having a little bit of trouble with the webcam, which is sort of picking up every microphone from everyone who isn't speaking. So if you're trying to follow this on YouTube, it's not your computer, it's a webcast in here. Perhaps, just before we go into item 6, an error from the chair. I should have declared an interest in relation to item 8, which is the UK Shared Prosperity Fund Community Development Grant Scheme, because one of the applicants for the scheme that is proposed to receive some money as per the recommendation is the Swan on the Green pub in West Peckham, which is owned now by the community, and I'm one of the shareholders in that pub. I'll take some advice when the time comes as to whether I should withdraw for that item or whether I can participate, but perhaps we we'll get to that when the time comes, if that's okay. But I did want to put that on the record. I'd also recommend going to the pub too, because it's been great. Item 6 is also supplementary. That is another recommendation from the Audit Committee in relation to risk management. That's on page 5. Again, there are 3 recommendations for us to refer to Cabinet. The first is in relation, to Council. First, in relation to the Strategic Risks Register, the service risks which are annexed to that paper, and the risk management strategy and the accompanying risk management guidance. Martin, anything to add to the Audit Committee's work?
Nothing to add to that, no.
In which case, Cabinet, can we agree to recommend that to Council, please? That was agreed unanimously. Right, back to the agenda as published. Now, executive non-key decisions. Page 111 is the Tunbridge Town Centre Master Plan Framework Adoption and Delivery Strategy. Dean, do you wish to say anything to start with?
Thank you, Chair. The Tunbridge Town Centre East of High Street Master Plan work that was carried out from December 24. The consultants were responsible for preparing a high-level illustrative plan. Following the Cabinet meeting on the 30th of June, a Master Plan Framework engagement exercise took place between the 14th of July and the 31st of August. Subsequent to that, a delivery strategy has also been developed for the Master Plan Framework. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Dean. Adam, Cabinet Member for Tunbridge Regeneration, over to you.
Thank you, Matt. Yeah, I think I'd just like to say I'm very proud of the work that we've done on the East of High Street Master Plan Framework. One of the driving reasons why I wanted to become a councillor was to basically increase the amount of investment in Tunbridge as one of our principal towns, and make better use of council-owned land and assets for the benefit of our residents. So I think it's a very comprehensive piece of work, and I think over time we'll really deliver for the town. I think I was also really pleased to see that overwhelmingly the majority of residents were in favour of the proposals and felt that they would be positive for the town, which was encouraging, and I think the public engagement that we did with that really sort of helped. The only thing I think I'd probably lament slightly is that with local government reorganisation on the horizon, we aren't likely to be able to have the time or resources to deliver all aspects of the master plan framework, and that's basically where the delivery strategy comes in. And kind of just sets out our priorities as to what do we want to do, what can we do in the sort of the coming years in terms of delivering some of those proposals. So obviously the Angel Centre is kind of a key part to that, and there's other items later on the agenda to do with that. And the sort of linear park is another thing that we'd sort of quite like to look at. I think just something in the delivery strategy that I'd sort of picked up on, and sort of particularly in light of some of the public feedback, was sort of quite a lot of concern, I suppose, about the potential for loss of parking. And I think maybe that wasn't the intention of the master plan framework. And I think we realise how important, accessible parking is in the town, for our residents to get there and to support our sort of businesses. So I wondered maybe, Chair, if we would make one change to the delivery strategy on the theme of car parking, and basically centred around the sort of the paragraph 6.1.5, and perhaps we would change that to all bays retained in the medium term, change to all bays retained and decking be added in the medium term, if further evidence sort of shows that usage, evidences that more bays are going to be required. I think that what that basically would do is offset any of the kind of loss of some parking areas in some of the existing car parks, and basically just ensure that we have sufficient parking capacity in the town to provide the needs of our residents and businesses. So I'd be interested to hear what you and the other members of Cabinet think about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. So just sort of looking at the delivery strategy, then we'd probably be looking at, if I, as a simplistic person, look at 6.1.5 and the table there in relation to car park in Angel West. At the moment, essentially the proposal is that all bays are retained for the medium term. We'd be looking essentially to retain all bays and look at decking, adding decking in should usage determine that more bays are required, essentially. As always, members who aren't in cabinet, if you've got any questions, please do just put your hand up. But that to me seems like a sensible suggestion if cabinet members are happy. We'd probably then have to change 6.1.6 to add at the end of the first sentence. So the first sentence says this will mean that over 60% of the current parking provision within the High Street master plan area will be retained. We then would probably want to add, Adam, with the potential for capacity to be added by decking the Angel West car park, which can meet that shortfall as and when existing parking is lost to other use. So we're not losing parking, particularly if Tunbridge gets busier, which obviously we wanted to do so. I don't see any hands online to comment on that, but if anyone does, please just say. Cabinet, are you broadly happy, Robin?
Yes, thank you, Leader. It's only a minor thing. It's 6.3.2 about the GP surgery. The final sentence, GP surgery should only be progressed if new facility provides additionality. I just think that's a little bit, how can I say, restrictive. And how does one actually measure that? So it sort of would tie that one up too much, I think. So it might be wise to maybe adjust that to a degree, because I think, like I say, it's subjective and probably too restrictive, in my view. But just only a small thing.
No, thank you, Robin. What we then could do, and I'd be interested in Adam's views on this, essentially, is just take out the second sentence, the last sentence of paragraph 6.3.2 in relation to the GP surgery, because the first sentence there effectively says it's dependent on the viability of the development, which will come out of discussions with the NHS and the ICB. Provided the development is viable on that site, then 6.3.3 essentially says that the council has to achieve best value in all property transactions anyway, and options for ensuring that's the case on this site will be explored. So, Adam, I don't know what you think of that, if you're happy to take Robin's suggestion.
Thank you, Matt. Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think, looking back at the survey results, there's very strong public support for, improved access to GP surgeries as part of the master plan. I'm not sure that last sentence and paragraph kind of, adds anything to it. And ultimately, as the rest of the paragraph says, it's for members to kind of basically determine and move that forward. So, I'm happy with Robin's suggestion to take that last line out. Thank you.
Super. Thank you, Robin. Any other comments or views on Tunbridge Town Centre delivery strategy? No. Just while you were talking there, Robin, I was just looking in relation to the parking amendment, and a couple of other things is at 6.7.1, we probably want to just include words including decking options at the end of the sentence there, just in terms of looking towards the future demand. Things we want to deck the car park if we can. And we'll need to do exactly the same in 6.9 in the proposed phasing timetable. So at the bottom page 207, in the second column, we would remove where it says in the short medium term. And then in the additional comments, we just put and consider decking options in addition to retaining as car parking. So it's not just retaining, it's retaining and enhancing the level of car parking sites. I see nods in the room, so hopefully everyone sort of follows that. Adam, do you, if you're happy with all of that, I'm happy to propose all of those as one. You happy to second?
Yeah, I am.
Super. I'll just go back, sorry, to page 111, because there's actually a number of sort of interlinked recommendations here, and I'm struggling to find page 111 in my agenda pack. I will get there now. So essentially, we've got to note the feedback from the survey, which Annex 1, which Adam done, so we can note that, cabinet. Noted. We obviously support the recommendations at Annex 2 and Annex 3, and we can take that together with the revised recommendation at Annex 4. That's been proposed and seconded. Agree those recommendations. That was agreed. Thank you all very much. Alison, if there's any concerns about that wording, we will help. Right. While we were doing that, Adrian was very kindly giving me some advice which is that I do have an other significant interest in relation to agenda item 8. Robin.
Sorry, Leader, I've just spotted as well, actually, because very kindly the Kent Farmers Market Association has received a grant. And my business is a member of the Kent Farmers Market Association, so I guess I'm going to have a interest in that as well.
So I think at this point then, Robin, if you and I have got interests in 2 of the proposed recipients, I think we do need to be transparent, and you and I should probably leave the room for this agenda item. The core at the cabinet is free. There are 4 of you left. I hope none of you have a significant interest, but it does mean I shall pass the chair over to Martin for this agenda item. And Robin and I will sit outside.
Thank you. Well, whilst they leave the room, we'll settle in and agenda item 8 on page 217. Jill.
Thank you, Chair. So the purpose of the report is to seek approval for the 3rd round of the UK Shared Prosperity Fund Community Development Grant Scheme. So you'll remember that we've run this scheme twice before. In addition to earlier this year, we ran the 50th anniversary grant scheme, which followed exactly the same criteria, except it wasn't funded from the UK SPF. The project priorities are listed in the report in section 4.1. And as you would imagine, we were oversubscribed, as we have been every time we've run these schemes. They're very popular. But this did mean that we had to implement our scoring criteria. So you can see that in the proposal in section 5. The highest scorers receive 85% of what they've asked for, and then it goes down to 70% or 55%. Taking that approach did leave a small surplus of £413, and we suggest that this is split and that the 2 groups that applied for very small amounts get the additional £206.50 each. That was Ruton WI and Hildenborough Conservation Group. So that allowed, that option meant the most number of groups receive funding. And I think all of the projects, it may have to be, scaled down slightly, but they'll all be able to deliver their projects. So that seemed the best option. The recommendation is on page 1 in section 3. And can I also add to this recommendation, unfortunately, during the process, one of our applicants was missed, and every penny of the SPF funding has been allocated at this point. But we do have an underspend from the 50th anniversary grants pot. So rather than penalise the group because of a glitch at our end, it's suggested that this extra organisation, which is called Arts Without Boundaries, they tackle social exclusion experienced by people with disabilities. They want to run their Arts Without Boundaries band members to deliver an inclusive musical performance with the RBLI veterans. So it's a worthy project. They only requested £600. They've been scored in the same way that all of the other applicants were scored by the same scoring panel, and they received 70% of requested, which would take them to a grant of £420.
Thank you, Jill. Des.
Thank you, Chair. I'm really grateful that you're not a member of the Ruton WI, or you would have had to step out yourself. But once again, a fantastic demonstration of how this authority provides support to its charity and volunteer groups. We were well oversubscribed, as Jill mentions, but I'm very, very satisfied that all allocations were proportionate and will go a long way to supporting these groups, and I strongly endorse the recommendation.
Thank you, Des. Before we go to the recommendation, which obviously I will propose the addition from the chair, anybody else online with any comments? Any comments from either of the other members from Cabinet? In which case, from the chair, I will propose the addition that Jill has suggested, and that's seconded by Des. With that addition and the recommendation on page 217, do I have your agreement? Thank you. That was agreed. We'll go and retrieve the leader.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you all for our absence. Right, agenda item 9 is on page 229. This is safeguarding the equalities and diversity. Jill, do you wish to add anything?
No, this is just to say that this is in our annual service delivery plan for this year, that Cabinet approves the training plans. Both plans are attached in Annex 1 and Annex 2. Thank you.
Very much, Jill. Des, it's in your portfolio. Do you wish to add anything?
Just to say that I think it's an absolute must that if we're going to give the staff the right skills and the right knowledge, up-to-date knowledge, that this training is absolutely essential for all to undertake. And I welcome it and strongly endorse the recommendation.
Thank you ever so much, Des. I don't see any hands from any members wishing to comment on this. Cabinet, any further comments? No. So Annex 1 and 2 are the training plans for our staff in relation to equality, diversity and safeguarding. Can I have a proposer for that, please? Des and the seconder. I think Mike, you were marginally first. Can we agree that collectively, please? That is agreed. Thank you very much. Agenda item 10 is at page 237. This is in relation to the Overview and Scrutiny Committee of the 11th of September. It's also on page 239, and they're really interesting discussions about the Angel Leisure Centre replacement project. I saw Anita Oakley online, and I hope, Anita, you don't mind me asking whether there's anything you wish to add from the deliberations in your capacity as Chair of Overview and Scrutiny.
Thank you, Matt. It was a very good discussion at Overview and Scrutiny, and I think the report was quite thorough, and I was a bit disappointed that we haven't been more direct about what was going to happen to the old Angel Leisure Centre, the funds from that. There will be significant funds, but everyone's being very coy about allocating them to the new Angel Leisure Centre. So I look forward to when it is actually demolished and what happens then, but I suspect we might be in a different place. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Anita. Des and Adam, do you wish to add anything to what Anita said or Overview and Scrutiny? Adam?
Thank you, Chair. No, I thought the Overview and Scrutiny meeting was very useful, and I hope it was helpful to all the members and the Chair of that committee. We are looking at doing another one, I think, sort of next year, to just keep that committee informed of progress on this project. I think in the discussions we had about what's going to happen to the Angel Centre site, I think we essentially agreed to, keep in mind the position that we're at when we get there, and keep all sort of options available. All sorts of moving parts with that in terms of interest rates, build costs, and market conditions. But we took away all of the feedback from the Overview and Scrutiny Committee. That's been fed back to the programme board. It's looking to basically action the points that were of interest to the committee, and that's about it, really. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Adam. I don't see any member with any questions, so I don't see any cabinet member either with any questions, in which case the recommendations from Overview and Scrutiny are on page 239. I'm happy to propose them. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Robin. Can we agree those unanimously? We can do it unanimously. Thank you all very much, Cabinet. Thank you, Anita, for your input. In fact, don't go very far, Anita, because we've now got another review report from Overview and Scrutiny in relation to the annual service delivery plan from Q1. This is on page 273 and 74. Anita, anything to add from the Overview and Scrutiny Committee?
No, I think that's it's fine. it's all going well.
Yes, I absolutely concur with that, and it was a really good report and really good update. So thank you to everyone across the council for all your work. Any comments? No, I don't see any online. I don't see any cabinet member. I'm happy to propose the recommendations from overview and scrutiny. Martin's happy to second. Can we agree those, please? They are agreed. Thank you very much. Finally, Anita, agenda item 12, the executive scrutiny protocol. Again, at overview and scrutiny at the same meeting. Anything, Anita, you wish to flag with us?
I'd just like to thank Adrian for going through it and for adding the item on IT, which I think is vital to the council going forward, and I support it. So that's great. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Adrian. For that, it's a good document, the executive scrutiny protocol, because I think it works in terms of our strong governance that we've got. Don't see any hands for questions, members. In which case, page 301 asks us to approve the revised protocol at Annex 1. Can we agree that, please? Sorry, I need a second. I'm happy to propose. I need a seconder. Robin, thank you. Can we agree that, please? That is agreed. Thank you very much indeed. Right, we now come on to our matters for information. Page 315 starts with the notes of the Parish Partnership Panel on the 28th of August. That's on page 317. And the Tunbridge Community Forum of the 1st of September. They're on page 323. Can we note those, please, Cabinet? Noted. Thank you very much. Right, agenda item 14, decisions taken by Cabinet members since our last meeting. There are two that we have got to talk about. Again, if anyone's got any questions to the Cabinet members about their decisions, please do put your hand up. First was taken on the 15th of September by Robin in relation to the lease of land to Tunbridge Model Engineering Society. Anything to add, Robin?
No, I think it says what it says. Thank you.
It's been quite a long time coming, because I know from my discussions with the Model Engineering Society. And just on that, actually, this will be the first time since the 1950s that there's actually a formal agreement in place to safeguard the land for the Model Engineering Society and this council for the next 30 years. So as far as I'm aware, they're very pleased. And the second decision was perhaps a little less visually obvious, shall we say, the write-off of unrecoverable debts over £5,000 by Martin.
Nothing really to add. It's the usual problems of recovering debts. They are unrecoverable. But as with all debts, if we find there is an ability to collect later, we reinvigorate our collections. But at the moment, they're just unrecoverable. There will be either bankruptcy, people disappeared, whatever. But reassured, we always chase for the money if we can see it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Martin. I don't see any questions, so we'll move on to item 15, which is a notice of forthcoming key decisions. This was published earlier today. So it was emailed to all councillors who are joining, hopefully being able to see it. That covers effectively. Yeah. Agenda item 16 are whether there's any urgent items. I've not been notified of any urgent items, so I'll move on to agenda item 17. And it's at this point I need to ask for a seconder to exclude the press and public for the remainder of the meeting, because the items to come may disclose exempt information during the discussion of matters. Mike and Martin are happy to propose and second that. Can we agree that, please, Cabinet? Agreed. To anyone watching on YouTube, thank you very much for dialing in. I hope you have a good evening, and I'm sorry we're having to see you depart at this point, but thank you for your time with us. And Alison, if you can advise when we pass.